Hello, beautiful people, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I am bringing you my friend and my guest, Marek. Before our introduction, I have no idea what a Breatharian lifestyle is. And if this is your first time hearing that term as well, continue watching because Marek is going to share with you what a Breatharian lifestyle is, how it has helped him, what has guided him, what program he went through, and what he has gone through to live a such peaceful and happy life every day. I had one of the most beautiful conversations with him, and I know you will enjoy it too. It is a very deep and different conversation, so you definitely do not want to be multitasking while you're listening to this. You will find tips on how to be more self-aware, which will lead you to living more consciously, and that will lead you to living a joyful life every single day. And of course, if you get a chance to live such a life, why wouldn't you want to say yes to it, right? So I will highly encourage you to grab a cup of coffee or tea or water, whatever you enjoy, and grab your notebook and just purely enjoy the chat. Please don't forget to screenshot this however you're watching it and tag us on social. We would love it because you are sharing this message and sharing the love. Now enjoy the interview.
Before we share your journey, Marek, I would love to say a huge thank you for sparing time for me to share your journey and to share with everyone what Breatharian is. And before you talk about that, I would love to know, how are you feeling today?
Perfect as always, I should say. I feel grateful to be here and to be in the present of your presence.
That's so sweet.
You see, this is one of the positive things if we are in the duality of the double speak, the present of your presence, because it is a gift.
That is so true. Even though we are not really in each other's presence.
You could say that. Or, since we are communicating, we are present with each other.
Speaking of being grateful, what are you grateful for today, other than being here?
I think being alive, having this experience, all these shenanigans happening outside, and it's like popcorn time. So I think we are at the very edge of something super great, leading up to like eons of times. Yeah, we get to experience it. I think that's very, from soul perspective, I could imagine that is a huge thing.
I love it already. You're like, for those who are listening and watching, they must be like, what's soul perspective? Well, let's get into it. You know what? Before our introduction, I wouldn't have known Breatharian is a thing. So would you like to introduce that to more people? What is it actually?
So there are much more capable people talking about what it is all about. I can only talk about what it did for me. So just take it with everything, take with a grain of salt, because I'm basically just talking about myself going through the journey. But to me, what the Breatharian process was, like since my sort of, lifetime journey, when you are awakening to all the other parts of your own consciousness and, you're becoming more aware, it came to my attention that you can use your consciousness to basically rewire your whole being. And I always had it in the back of my mind, like, okay, that might be possible. So I had it somewhere stored in the plausible bucket, and I had it like, okay, one time, that's one of the things that I want to explore. I'm gonna do the guinea pig experiment with myself to do it, but I never committed to it like, okay, let's do it. At specific, I didn't plan for it, and it just happened that it appeared. And the more I studied about it, the more I was curious about if that works, how would that work for me? Because you can have a process, and I don't think there's a one solution to fix all of things.
Mm.
Everything we have to navigate with the beings that we are, with whatever is in front of us. And basically the Breatharian process is the one thing, the guidelines to maybe try on. So to me, I was intrigued by, okay, so people do not need to, allegedly people don't need to consume food to survive. And it was the very beginning of understanding of what breatharianism is, only to come to conclusion that it's completely wrong, that it's not about the food or diet or not eating at all. But basically it is a journey of, like I said, rewiring of your own being. And to me, it became sort of like an alignment with your light body, all the aspects, mind, body, spirit, and all coming to be aligned and harmonized with each other. So there has to be a mental aspect that you cannot have conflicting belief systems. If we operate from the left brain, those are the beliefs that are being structured, and most of them are indoctrinated, like you will die if you don't eat. You need food in order to survive, and that's where you get your nutrients and all this physical 3D sort of things that by living our own life, we tend to agree upon. And this lifestyle completely eradicates all that, and that was the one thing to me that it was impossible. So one of the bodies that you need to sort of align is one the mental body, and shift from the impossible into the possible. And then there is the spiritual aspect to it, that is basically what it is all about. So through the process, there is a fasting, although fasting is not the outcome. Fasting is a process that allows us to see things come to our conscious mind.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should speak about like the little details of what the process is all about. By the way, so for anyone that is interested, if I can put a plug in, I was attending it as a group, and the facilitator, he's called Ray Maurer. He's not originally from Australia, but he came to Australia to facilitate one of these events with Grace Love. And they basically did the 10-day process here in Australia, and it is best to do it in a group because the whole vibe's in there, all the people are going through the very same thing. So I would definitely encourage it to do, if people should want to do the same experiment with themselves and see if that suits. Go through it with someone else, best in a group, because the whole group helps everyone in there as well.
Yeah, I think that goes with whatever you want to do in life. But before, because you were just talking about the process, but for those people who don't really understand what it is, really, do you mind to explain to people what Breatharian lifestyle is?
Okay, so the Breatharian lifestyle, from my own perspective, is nourishing all the aspects of self. Well, let's just call the mind, body, spirit, like 3 separate bodies. So you nourish each of them through the you can call it prana, chi, life force energy, the quantum, whatever that is, the energy all around that we are all surrounded by, or the infinite consciousness. If we are here, the characters, fragments of the imagination of the infinite consciousness, let's just say. That consciousness is basically what we created ourselves to be, and that is all around us. That is within us, that is without us, that it's everywhere. So basically aligning self to be able to sort of like tap onto that channel of the energy, I would say. And that nourishes the 3D body and all the other aspects of, the self.
Yeah. So how is it nourishing? Like what is your lifestyle now? Share it with people.
For me, the maintenance is I did not stop eating, and it is also not the objective that I would want to stress. It's not the objective to stop eating. If anything, it has nothing to do with the food. The main objective should be how can I resonate or vibrate under the highest vibration, meaning be happy, regardless of what's happening around you, because the alchemy of that process is very, very fundamental to being able to tap onto the nourishment. And I will get back to this on because from my perspective, everyone is breatharian to a degree, because and you can tell by yourself that when you are so in some task that you're so passionate about that you completely forget about eating, the one in the creative state and in no need for food or hunger doesn't even speak to you, you are in that state where you actually channel the life force. And being aware of it, you can consciously tap onto the nourishment of it. If you have the mental beliefs of, oh, that's actually not nourishing me, it won't work. But these are all the aspects. So everyone is breatharian to a degree, and it's only about getting aware of it or raising the awareness of it, and harness it in a conscious way. And going through the process basically guides you and initiates your consciousness to start telling your body how it's supposed to be nourished. Because from the perspective of the old paradigm beliefs, we need the physical food that has the physical aspect that goes through our digestive system, and then you have the nutrients and all these sort of things. From the new paradigm, it is we are life force energy, and we when you have a ray of light hitting a plant, going through the photosynthesis and creating proteins and all these sort of physical things, it basically extracts the information of life, and through all the other physical aspects, water and all this, transforms it into something physical. But the information of life is basically transmuted and put into the physical thing. And from the Breatharian paradigm, it is the information that nourishes the body, that tells how to live, rather than the physical vessel that is just carrier of that information. So as you go, your digestive system breaks it down and extracts the information, and then the information of life is being transferred to your matrix. Now you can go through this process through getting the carriers and the vessels of the information, or you can tap onto the information directly. So that is what I came to sort of build my own matrix on how that works. So then you have the choice. So it is not that I will stop eating because I am a breatharian now. I still keep eating, and I only do maintenance. So basically, my personal lifestyle is I do not generally eat or drink up until minimum 12, I do have at least one day per week where I do not eat or drink, so no food, no drinks, for at least 24 hours. And generally speaking, I do have maybe 1 to 2 meals max per day.
Yeah.
And there are people who have who completely eradicated the food. They are either on water or on juices. To me, it is each to their own. I do eat for the indulgence of it, I guess. That is the belief that if you're breatharian, it doesn't mean that you have to stop eating. That's the only thing that I wanted to say with that. But it only means that you are not dependent on the food at all. So if anything, it's not that you will have to stop eating, or if you start eating that you will come back to the old paradigm. It is eradicating the dependency on the physical.
Why is it called breatharian? Is it because we are more in tune with our breath?
I'm not sure if I have answer to this question, but to me, it is a sort of like a conscious breathing, as you have, imagine like a pipe, you can call it the prana tube coming through, the alignment of all your chakras within the body. And as your physical body has the breathing in and breathing out, you can connect the very aspect of your everyday breath with breathing in and breathing out the prana, or becoming the channel.
Okay. And when you said you joined the program, which you did with 10 other people,
I think there were, I don't remember how many, maybe 20, 30 even people, 40.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, would you mind sharing what that process was?
So the very big picture was basically just going through, so it is a 10-day process. And I think there are few processes. The very pioneer process was 21 days. That was super demanding, and I think it required back then 7 days of dry fast, meaning no food, no drinks.
7 days?
7 days, yes.
Oh.
And this is the funny part, like these processes evolved as the consciousness of people evolved as well. So it was more demanding when, let's just say, the consciousness of the whole world was not that high, so it required bigger effort. Now that more people are more aware, it is not as difficult to come to the very same result. So when I was doing it, it was only necessary to do, like, the minimum was 10 days, I think 9 or 10 days. There is one facilitator somewhere it's a couple in US, and they do, I think, 7-day process now. So through the 10-day process, basically, you just very detailed specifics where first day was, if I remember correctly, was only fruit and juices. The next day, juices only. The next day, water only. And then minimum of 3.5 days, no water, no juice. No water, no food, which was basically the dry fast. And the 3.5 days was put as a minimum. To my knowledge, was that it was perceived by the indoctrination that you can live without food 30 days, without water 7 days, and both combined, you will be allegedly dead in 3 days. So to break that sort of indoctrination, to convince your mental body, but by experience, not by just knowing someone told you, is going through the process and go through at least 3.5 days. After that is finished, some people, I personally went 4.5, some people, I think, even did 5, if not 7 days of dry fast. And after we got off the dry fast, then it was I think, water day, then diluted juices, and then juices only. So this is the 10-day process, basically initiation. And after we went back into the wilderness, back to the world, into the the 3D reality back in our everyday lives. Then it continued by 2 weeks juices only. And after 2 weeks, there had to be 4 weeks of liquids. So first 2 weeks, juice or water. 4 weeks after that, juice or water. And once or twice, you can introduce something of more substance. So for me, it was, I had blended soup broth. You could, broth. So I had that twice a week.
Right.
And so altogether, for me, it was 52 days.
Wow. I have a question though.
Mm-hmm.
You know about intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Do you think people can get to that consciousness through intermittent fasting?
I wouldn't, of course they can, but I would not advise, like, from the perspective that nothing is impossible, not that they will. But again, this process is not about the fasting. Fasting is process that allows us to go through a spiritual tuning within ourselves. So again, do not stop eating and think that you're breatharian, because it has to go through a process. And even through the 10 days, there was, I think, second day on the dry fast, we had the vipassana, which means no talking, no communication. And basically, usually that was the most difficult day.
Yeah.
So it was convenient. Nobody had to talk to anyone else, as to be complaining what they're going through. But we had, during the 10-day process, we had yogas, we had workshops and presentations on every single aspect of what we were going through. So shifting our paradigms from what has been indoctrinated into something new, so that it has the highest chance of working, and addressing all the beliefs that were supporting the old paradigm, and giving new perspective of new aspects for the new paradigm. When you mentioned the intermittent fasting, it is part of the process as to detoxify. And the fasting through the 10-day breatharian process is doing just that. It does not mean that you will become breatharian because you're fasting. It means it helps you to go through the process of your own recoding, you could say. Because all the emotional baggages, all the reasons that we had to actually go into the fridge and eat, many of them have emotional attachment. Some we can find ourselves, being in an argument and then feel anxious, and then, okay, I need a chocolate, or what am I gonna eat, or just pure out of boredom. So it creates a habitual pattern. And if you are basically restricting, if you are going through the process where you cannot have it, all those reasons, all those things will come up. And some of the things we did not even know that we were suppressing. But as you go through the process, it will get flushed out. So all the toxins, and by toxins, it is also so the awareness of, if I have a childhood trauma that is suppressed, it is stored in our body. So our body is basically a memory bank. And Yes, and so just to give it into the context, and that is one of also those toxins. So that will get flushed out, and when and also through the process, you tend to, I did, lose weight uh, because since we are most of the our body is comprised of the water, it's being flushed out, and also the memories will get flushed out in the process. Will come to the conscious mind, and suddenly you will get feelings, you will get memories from the childhood, and you need to process them. So that is the process. So you cannot just stop eating and then resisting what is coming up, because you are not letting go of what holds you from be the clear channel. So it is a process of basically eradicating something that you made painful for yourself, or subscribe to whatever circumstance happened in the past, and suddenly it's a blockage, an emotional blockage.
I love it. But okay, what I wanted to ask was, you know how before you said the not talking part was quite hard during that program? So what did you yourself find the hardest when you went through that process?
The funny thing is that I should rephrase it. It was hard, allegedly, by average feedback.
Oh, yeah.
The whole process, and it was one of the very profound things. It is going to be as hard or as easy as you will make it, because you are a creator of your own pain. What you focus on during when you go through the process will dictate how hard it is going to be. So it can be super easy. So maybe not hard, but the most challenging part was to keep reminding myself, actually, if it's becoming hard, is it just because I make it so? But in retrospect, it wasn't that difficult.
Sorry, I had to laugh because what you said was very beautiful. That's just life, everyday life. Literally, whatever we're going through, it's as hard or as easy as you make it. Well, for those people who are listening and watching who are quite intrigued about Breatharian and being more conscious and connecting with their authentic self, where and how would you encourage them to start?
I can vouch for the process that I went through. So that was my experience. Obviously, I'm still alive, and it's been how many 2 years since the process, and I'm still in the maintenance stage. So yeah, whoever is interested, the best people are the ones that who are actually facilitating it. Go to raymauer.com and start there.
I will leave the details in the description.
Yeah,
that'll be great. And what do you think is the number one thing that people misunderstand about Breatharian, other than you can't eat?
I think that's the food part.
I think elaborate.
That breatharian means not eating food.
That's the main thing that people misunderstand. Anything else?
Yeah, well, I'm judging it from myself because that was my misconception as well. It's like, oh, you're breatharian. Oh, that means that you don't eat at all. Rather than seeing it from what it really is, and that is how to lead your life in harmonious and happy way.
Yes.
Because it is required for us to be joyful, at peace, and in harmony in order to be able to tap onto the high vibrational source of life information, let's call it, or prana chi. And how do we get ourselves to that state? Like, are we joyful like kids? Can we be? What blockages do we put in our, attention and what we focus on every single day, or any kind of circumstance that is around us? What do we make out of the circumstance? Is it something that is actually sad or angry or puts us in fear? Or are we able to consciously flip the script that we are running in our head and see it from, the higher perspective that this actually has some purpose, and maybe this is the angle. And okay, I don't know if this is true, but I don't know even if what makes me sad or angry is true. So why not just choose something that is of benefit if we have the choice? That is from the devil's advocate. Everything is true. It's only what you make it. But if someone questions, like, oh no, that's not true. The view that I have currently is the only one, and be close-minded, and then each perspective has its consequential generation of energy, whatever that emotion is.
Yes, I love how you use the word generational because it's so true. Now, I feel like obviously you weren't a breatharian all your life. So
Yeah.
how did you yourself stumble upon this journey?
I think it was the very first time that I heard about breatharians was during one other workshop that was designed for sort of like a study of sacred geometry and Merkaba activation, which is the light body. And they just uttered in the midst of it, like, yeah, you can actually use this vehicle, and some people called breatharians can even channel this energy through this, and they don't need to eat. I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm believing that now, but I'll store it in my bucket. And later on, I just recovered it from the bucket and got more interested, and just studied a bit more and see what the truth is in there for me.
So that's take everyone back even further then. Like, why were you doing the self-development stuff?
Okay, so basically it came from adversity. Let's call it that way. When I came to Australia, I basically had to find a job, and my only world before this and my paradigm was just logic, reason, so that I was basically living out of all the indoctrination and had it as the reality that nobody could tell me any different. So I was doing whatever I was told to do.
Okay.
So I came to Australia, and basically, so what am I supposed to do? Okay, obviously I have to find a job to survive. So I was looking for a job. I couldn't find any. So by do or die, I had to start doing something that was outside of my realm of reality, and that was, okay, if I can't find a job, maybe I should try something different on how to make money. So for me, the dangling carrot or the objective was making money. So I started reading books on the top successful people in the world, and all the books that I read basically had one thing in common, that everything comes from a mindset, which to me was completely, is like, mindset, now just tell me what to do, I'll do it, and I will get the result. But all the books of all the top successful people said different. It's like, no, it comes with mindset. It's the intention. It's like, what intention? That has nothing to do with the 3D world. So I had to overcome my own, the prejudice of something eerie, like something outside of me, or something outside of what I do, like physically. And so this made me focus my energy on developing myself, because every single program had a self-development implemented in it. Everything started with the mindset.
Yeah.
So then I discovered personality types, and I discovered, oh, hold on, there's actually some matrix there. We are running some programs, and every single one is attached to a specific emotion. And each personality was created at some point of a hurt from the childhood. So I was discovering all these sort of things on how people get to work, and I came to a conclusion that we are basically just, forgive me for nerding out, like a nodes, like a computer client that was pre-programmed and is designed to run in certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was becoming aware of, the programs, how it was created and why they actually got created the way they got created, and what is the consequence, and how they run, and how they put me in a position to make a judgment that generates either fight or flight response. The reptilian brain is engaged. So we are very reactional beings by the mental programming, and getting out of the mental matrix is where I discovered that behind that matrix veil there is, the self, the essence of connection to the source.
Yeah, I think that's great. I feel like parts of it, some people might find it hard to grasp. I kind of want to paint a picture for those who are great with visions. Imaginative side of them. Imagine yourself as like you say, it's a program. Yourself is a computer, and basically, we have been taught to program in certain way, which really isn't serving us. And I guess in a way you were trying to reprogram yourself to really be in touch with the authentic self. That's how I kind of want people to think about what the program means. But you said you were reading books, right? So would you mind sharing maybe 3 books that you were reading?
Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was basically that is for the financial aspect. Think and Grow Rich is the book by a study of the most successful people that first introduced, I think in that book it called the infinite intelligence, which to me started awakening me to something, outside of the 3D that is playing a role in our, outcomes, everyday outcomes in this 3D world. The Alchemist was a really nice one. So there are your 3.
Yeah, that's a 3. What would be the ultimate benefit for ourselves and for the society to live a breatharian lifestyle?
The benefits, apart from, okay, let's start with the selfish benefits, the perceivably selfish ones. It's gonna give the tools for being happy. It's like once you're aware on how we generate energy or emotions, and shifting through the process of going through the process, shifting from consumer into the creator. So when we are in or tell me what to do and I'll do it, or tell me what to believe and I will believe it, that is consuming. So that has no creative power coming from you whatsoever. So you only consume whatever is put on your plate, and you just, give me more. Tell me what to believe, tell me what to do, and all this. So coming from the consumer into the creator, being in creative state of mind or being, you establish the connection to the source. Nothing came into manifestation without it being imagined first. So if someone tells you, oh, you just made it up, that is very harshly discrediting the connection to God. It's like someone would tell a painter that the painting that they just painted is, that's bullshit. You just made it up. It's not true. And discrediting the very essence of this actually working, and that is we need to engage to be the creator, not the consumers. So instead of seeking answers, it is creating the answers. To give an example, if a circumstance happen, and if I'm indoctrinated that if this guy slaps this guy, that means there is a conflict, and I will be angry because whatever my beliefs were there, I bought into this program that if this happens, if blah 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 happens, then I will generate anger. That is a belief that we bought into, that is what we consumed. And there are infinite other perspectives as valid as the first one in terms of what I'm going to generate, the consequential energy, the consequential emotion. And we need to know that we are in charge of picking and choosing the emotion. So we can transmute whatever the old pattern was that was creating anger into a new pattern that will create compassion, understanding, unconditional love. And for that emotion, we need to create the perspective of it. So now I am forced to come into my imagination and start looking for start creating the angles. Okay, if I would love this situation, if I should show compassion, then maybe I would look into, or maybe they are going through something very hurtful in their own lives, and that is the only way how they can respond in that way. So they are very reactive. They operate from maybe a childhood hurt, and that shifts me automatically into compassion. So instead of being angry about what is happening, I can shift, but I will need to create, if that was my previous pattern, I will need to create it first. And then my consciousness shifts into this perspective, and I can operate from there.
Yeah.
And all my thinking shifts with it. So I'm looking not about, oh, you slapped me first, that slap you. It's a surface level thing that is none of my concern. I'm looking behind what is happening. And then maybe instead of, accusation that would go from the first pattern, in my shifted pattern, I would start asking completely different questions. Not who started it, but what is happening in your life that you actually had to do it this way.
Yes.
And it's completely different way of operation.
I agree. And I feel like the way that you just said everything will be a better way for everyone and everything to coexist in this 3D world that we are living in. Because you know what? I know just now you said we are practical. Well, the world we are living now, people need to be practical, and then they are consuming instead of being a creator. But they still need, I feel like in order to get there, in general, people still need some practical, I guess, steps to get there, right?
Yeah.
So would you mind sharing maybe the number one practical tip that everyone can do every day so we can coexist?
I think the example that I try to describe, I think that would be the one thing, because once people are aware of what is behind the emotions that they generate, then they can do something about it. So as a everyday practice, if I do not feel, this is what I'm trying, well, what is my effort to implement in my everyday life and consciously reminding myself is, am I in peace? Am I in love? And the moment I step outside of it, I had to give myself reason for it. So the reason is basically the story that brings me from, the equilibrium where there is a peace, love, and I'm in acceptance of what is, to somewhere, if it is negative or positive. If I shift into the duality world, it means I place the judgment. And the judgment stems from some program or a reason or a story that I told myself.
Yes.
And if I negative, that means I started generating emotions of what we have as negative, which are fear, anger, sadness. So if I feel angry, that ultimately gives me the information that I placed a judgment that is in resistance to what is happening. And as we all know, everything is in harmony by default. So only I can give myself the reason to step outside of it.
So what you're saying is every day you ask yourself, am I at peace? Am I in love?
Every time I would start feeling that is outside of those emotions, I started dissecting them. Because each emotion is basically, it's the energy that is bringing the information of the judgment to our conscious mind. If we do not like it, which we tend not like, fear, anger, sadness, we either blow up or suppress it. So we either express it and yell and whatever, or if it is appropriate to do, as we are socially conditioned that, oh no, you should not be angry, you should not yell, then we learn how to suppress it. And that is being emotion that cannot be, has no free flow. And if we suppress too many of it, we restrict the flow of energy. And from the ease, we come into the word of play, this is. So then we get sick and will manifest in the 3D world. So that if we consciously cannot comprehend what is happening, the body will tell us, oh no, you get sick now, you have to lay in a bed and rejuvenate. And basically, that is it. The energy carries the information of the judgment that was placed.
Okay. For those who are listening and watching, you might take some time to, I guess, comprehend what you just said. And I highly encourage you to rewind and listen back because, yeah, you will get it. I feel. But you still have those negative emotions that come up, obviously. So how do you yourself deal with that now?
If I do generate something that I do not prefer, it's not that much that it happens, and I have a suspicion that I have a blind spot and maybe I'm not even realizing and I'm suppressing it before I generate it. But where my consciousness, and with practice of all of this in the visual, imagine the emotion is going to be expressed when you have, let's just say, a bomb, and you have the fuse. And some people have short or very little fuse, so the moment something happens, it blows up. So there is basically no discernment or no stepping outside of what is happening to give you the time to actually place the judgment. So when the situation is instantly there is a judgment, instantly there is an emotion. With the practice, basically I was able to make the fuse so much longer that I have so much time before I place a judgment that I avoid creating something that I would not even prefer to create in the first place.
Yeah.
So if something is happening, takes uh, it takes me a lot of time to think of, okay, how I'm gonna look at this, instead of instantly react out of the indoctrinated matrix.
Yeah.
Making this practice every single day, the fuse will get longer and longer, up to a point that you are in position to actually not generate emotion that you do not prefer. Obviously, this was not when I started beginning to work on my emotional intelligence. But one of the practices that I learned to do is, the healing is in the feeling. We cannot suppress emotions, regardless of what they are. And again, it's the judgments that we place them into negative and positive basket. It's still energy. And it's either contracting or expanding. And if we understand what is the consequence of expanding energy and what is the consequence of contracting energy, then there is no right or wrong or negative, positive. It's just energy. And we are only working with the energy for what it is, energy. Now, if I would be angry, I would want to express it. So whatever the practice is, if for the, let's call them the negative emotions, and something that people consider, I'm actually afraid of you if you're angry, just lock yourself in a room so that you are safe and alone, and where you can rage and just, beat the shit out of your pillow, or start bashing, so that you will express the emotion. So once you place the judgment, there is no going back. You already committed to the judgment, and the judgment has placed the energy. Now you can give more focus and more attention on the judgment, and make it grow and all that stuff. But and maybe that's the way to go through all the patterns, because if something triggers you, it usually leads up. The ego is very nice to create all these mazes. To me, it's my visualization of the the negative matrix is, imagine the pinball machines that you had. You plan there is a ball and it just goes everywhere, and you get the highest score the more things you hit. So imagine the walls of the pinball machines. And when you hit a trigger, it usually leads to another trigger. So it leads to, from this perception to this perception, and you get riled up. So, and this makes me even more angry. And it just goes in there. So it may be good to, whilst you are raging, or using your physical body to actually express the anger, bashing a pillow or a mattress on a bed, then go through the process and just let the pinball machine do whatever it needs. But be aware of why this makes you angry and what it leads to, what another reason, what another story is being told. So just so you are aware that there are some stories. You don't need to do anything about the stories because it's not the time. This is only the time to express it. But as you express, just observe what is coming up, and just keep expressing up until you can't, you're exhausted. And then you basically let it out of your system.
Yeah.
And that is how you heal, because you do not suppress it. And that is how you get out of it emotionally. But then you do not want to repeat it. So whatever you were aware of happening, so that you do not recycle the same energy, and you are not stuck in your own pattern of matrix of, being the anger bucket waiting to happen, then you can start mentally working when you are in peace, when you come back to neutral or peaceful or harmonious state of being. from this state you can start doing something about the beliefs, about the stories. But first express, so that you have to feel it when it is suppressed. Only after you are out of expressing it and releasing that energy, then you can do something using your masculine or mental mind to start questioning those beliefs, those stories, and start addressing it to maybe changing it for something else.
Yeah, I really enjoy the way that you have portrayed everything, because to get to where the stage that you are at now, it does take practice. And for those who are listening and watching, I know everyone needs some practical tips so you can start practicing. So I'm gonna just be honest here, for the past week, I have been trying to let out some emotion. And if you don't let it out, your body honestly just keeps on storing it. And it's just so unhealthy. You will feel heavy. Your body would feel aches wherever, somewhere it might occur. So I guess the way that I would suggest people to do so is, if you need to cry, it's not just anger, it's also frustration, sadness, and shame or hurt, like just all these things. You should let it out. So it's okay to cry, and if you want to cry, just cry. and in the meantime, like he said, there will be many stories that come up. And when you have the capacity, after you have let out your emotions, I would highly encourage you to either voice record yourself or write down the stories that have occurred. So then you can slowly work through the traumas and your past feelings slowly, because it's not a once-off thing. And yeah, and then your fuse will become longer and longer. That's how I feel. But for those who don't know you, and I know you don't advertise this commercially, you actually mentor and hold space for people, right?
Yes, yeah.
Would you like to talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, yeah, if anyone is interested, I'll just put a plug. They can message me, I think even on YouTube, just my name, Marek Ondrus, ONDRUS. But basically the idea behind it is to hold a space or be the mirror or someone to maybe help see past the illusions, because even from my perspective, I do have blind spots and I would not see them if there would not be someone else maybe calling on my BS. And throughout like my own journey, like I know what BS I was telling myself, and I needed to see my own matrix in order to be able to navigate through the matrix and find the solution for whatever I created. And there is sort of like a default matrix indoctrinated by the society of what we are supposed to do, believe, and all these sort of things. And most of it I found when I was navigating within my own body is to make you feel a certain way, and it's more often than not positive. It is usually lack of self-worth, fear mentality, and operate from the consumer perspective.
Yes.
So those are the default ones, but those are the ones that we got from our parents or from whatever childhood hurt there was. So I try and question what is behind what is on the surface. And usually people tell a lot of just by the language. How and what people say and how they say it speaks very loudly of what is the intent and what is behind the words.
Yes.
So it speaks very much of the belief systems that led to say whatever was said.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. Wait, so basically you help people to get out of that matrix. Like you
Yeah.
point out the language that they are using for themselves and you help people to reprogram.
Yes, basically. But I'm not telling people what to believe or what that means.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I'm acting as, I try to be the mirror, that if there is something that they say, then maybe I question it and maybe hit it from a few angles and see what triggers. And the moment that there is a trigger, obviously there is the judgment that has been placed.
Yes, yes.
And in my case, I know once I had to be chasing my own ego. So an ego is very skillful in hiding itself behind another perspective. So when you catch it here, it will tell you another story. Oh, this is actually blah, blah, blah. So we need to chase it from one perspective to another perspective.
Mm.
And it does not want to be caught, because if you remove a perspective from the ego, that means the ego has one less realm to exist in. Because if we have a perspective that we constantly feed with an energy, let's just say anger,
Mm-hmm.
and we associate ourselves with the ego, then we consider ourselves, we are the emotion, we are that belief, we are that view. And if I remove that view, I'm basically removing myself. Like, what am I if I'm not emotion? So the ego's most prevalent is self-preserving. So it does not want you to look at things that will make it dissolve, obviously.
Yeah.
But that is the removing of the mask. So to continue, it's not only to see past the illusion, but the objective is see yourself, see the divine you that is past all the illusions, past all the masks, past all the egos or the beliefs that we were led to believe that we are. So it's eradicating that stands in a way for realizing, your true divine essence.
I love it. And for those who are listening and watching, just letting you know, we are all different. And there's no one self that when you start thinking that, oh, there is the one self that you need to be, then you need to question yourself. So if you are interested to, I guess, live more consciously, please feel free to get in contact, and I will leave all the details in the description. If well, before I ask you my last question, I would like to know if today was your last day of your life, how would you like to spend it?
If today was my last day, I think I would spend it the way I'm spending it right now. I think just putting the message out through, your divine channel that spreads the information that helps people become more aware. It's like, for me, that is the most divine service you're doing to the society. And I love that. I think we are here as a service to each other.
Agree.
And the fact that you are doing it and focused on it, much love.
Thank you. It wouldn't happen without, all the beautiful souls that I have connected with, including yourself. Now, do you feel like there's anything in particular that you would like to touch on?
I think the one thing is the self-awareness. And for me, that is the most important thing that we can devote our focus to, because where the attention goes, there the energy flows. And we are on a brink of a new world creation, and we want people to operate from where we want to go or what we want to become. And obviously, every single one, I don't think there is an argument that we all seek love and harmony. And it is so simple, yet feels so impossible for people because of the mental blockages and all the circumstances that happen and all the stories we tell ourselves and the beliefs that are standing in a way that the harmony is in here. Even the heaven is already here, in here, the what we call the heaven. We need to realize that we are the creator of it. We just need to stop consuming what is not compatible with the state of being that we want to, which is the love and harmony.
Yes. That was beautiful. I'm getting a little teary, sorry. Because that is so true. We all seek love. And yeah, I'm excited for more people to get in touch with you and for you to share your journey and for them to share their journey with you so they can be more self-aware. So thank you, Marek.
Thank you. Yes. One thing just because I just caught myself on what I'm actually creating with Seeking the Love. Okay, there is another level of how the language changes our perception of what's being told. Seeking love, and this is another example. Seeking love means that I need to go and find it, right? Okay. What does it do in your own mind? If someone says seeking love.
If someone says seeking love to me, is that what your question is?
No, if someone says seeking love, tell me your association that go in your head.
Well, it depends on that person's story. If this person is seeking love in what kind of love, but also I think love is already within ourselves.
Yes, but the language, it implicates that for seeking we have to be going somewhere and looking for it. That means it's not with us.
Okay.
Right? So I just want to correct that seeking love is not the objective. It's being the love. That's all in here. Or into it. It's not a place to go to. It's never been outside of us.
I know. We can change it to connecting with love.
Yes.
Because then we are connecting with ourselves, and when you realize that love really is within you, then unconditional love really exists. Because if you can
yes.
Sorry, what were you saying?
We are of the love.
Yeah, exactly. And there's never enough love, I feel. But yeah, wow, what a great ending. Good job.
Good job, because this is actually one of the things of great example on how to implement the creative self. Okay, so if this language that I used to use means this and programs me subconsciously into thinking that love is somewhere outside, how do I change my language into creating a new habit and referring to this in different way? And that is exactly part of the process.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I'm excited for more people to truly understand that you can connect with that deep love that's within you. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Now, how are you feeling after listening to that interview? Share them with me. I know it could be heavy, it could be deep, it could be a little profound, it could be a little hard to grasp. That is a-okay. There are many different ways to live more consciously, to live a happy life, to be more self-aware, to connect within. And Breatharianism is one of them. Maybe you would like to give it a go. Details of the program that Marek has gone through is in the description. Or maybe you're like, I want to have a chat with Marek first and see how he can guide me through it. Well, his details are also in the description. You can also sign up to the 5-day self-love program. It is where you can definitely find practical tips that you can implement now to have more self-awareness. It can be a stepping stone for you to live more consciously. The sign-up link is also in the description. Let us all connect deeper with love, which is already within ourselves. I am excited for you to share your journey with us. However you're watching this, please do screenshot it and tag us on social. We would really appreciate you spreading this message and spreading the love. Now don't forget to subscribe, click the thumbs up button if you have loved it, and share it with someone because you never know what they're going through or what they might need. And remember, you are amazing and you are not alone. And I will see you next time.